Shabbat Shalom. We're going to begin with a wordless melody, a nigun. There's a lot of noise out there right now, a lot of words being thrown around as we ramp up for this election thing that's happening next week. So we're going to begin an election. I'll talk to you afterwards. Yeah. Oh, I hope you vote. So we're going to begin. Just settle in, ease into Shabbat. No words, lie, 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 nine, nine, nines. You can hum, whatever you need right now. So we all begin the same place. We all begin equal. Welcome, Shabbat Shalom. I am Rabbi Calvin, Rabbi Michelle. We have Jennifer here this evening as our cantorial soloist. Yes, we have James on the keys. Would love for you to turn to a neighbor, someone you didn't come here with, introduce yourself, welcome them to Shabbat, wish them a sweet Shabbos.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. Nice to meet you. Shabbat Shalom. Hi, Calvin. Shabbat Shalom. We didn't come together. You follow
Just as we have welcomed each other into this space, we'll welcome our angels. We're on page 11. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bohem LeShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Li Melech Malchei Hamlachim. מלאכי השרת, מלאכי העליון, מי מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And to help us bring a little extra light and warmth into our space, we'd like to invite up Eliana and her family to join us. Eliana is becoming bat mitzvah next Saturday morning. We'll continue on page 8, welcoming in the sweetness that is Shabbat, Yadin Nefesh.
Ay, 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 ay,
Continuing with our Kabbalat Shabbat, we prepare ourselves to receive all of the sweetness, all of the love, all of the rest that Shabbat has to offer. We begin on page 20.
Be the righteous one, live a life of kindness. Be the righteous one, live a life of holiness. Be the righteous one, and let your heart shine out. Or Zeruhanah, la 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 la, la tzaddik. Or Zeruhanah, la 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 la, la tzaddik. Hu yishre lev לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו.
Just go to the other side of the page, 29 there. Lecha Dodi, we are offering our 4 bold verses this evening. Please join us.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת, נקבל Shabbat lechuvanecha, ki mikor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela. מתוך ההפכה, רב לשבת בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמו עלייך חמלה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת, נקבלה. התנערי מהעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי, על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קרבה אל נפשי גאלה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת, נקבלה. Pnei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai yalalai yalalai. Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Page 30.
Lo tevoshi velo tikami, ma tishtoi umatihemi. עניי עמי ונבנתה עיר עתילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי יללי יללי, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי יללי יללי, פני שבת נקבלה. Shisa, Shosai, Shabbat Kabbalat Yamin Usmo Tifrotzi Ve'et Adonai Taritzi Ayad Ish Ben Partzi V'nismecha V'nagila Lecha Dodi Likra Kala Yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Lecha Dodi Likra Kala Yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Boi v'shalom Ateret bala Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola Toch emunei am segula Boi chala Lecha dodi likra kala Yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Lecha dodi likra kala Yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Kala yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Lecha dodi likra kala Yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Nekabela.
We continue with page 31. We offer Tov Lehodot.
Tov lehodot l'Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon. Ki simachtani
We offer Baruch Hu, page 36. Please rise.
Yai
may be seated. Sky turning from blue to ruby to sapphire. At last, the moment has arrived. And this is the turning point. Outside, the day turns to night, and within, our souls turn to embrace the sweetness that is Shabbat. We light the candles, and we ignite the fire of our souls. We say the blessing, and we hear the voice within respond. We feel our soul open. The gates let Shabbat in. And the darkness of evening becomes the light of Shabbat. And from the inner stillness, our souls begin to dance. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim.
Amen.
So there was this guy named Moses, and he was kind of a big deal for our people for quite some time. And he was tasked with not only just leading the people, but with also giving them a lot of the mitzvot, a lot of the rules, a lot of the commandments, the new guidelines that they are going to live their lives by, right? And so he goes up the mountain to receive the commandments. And the first set, God gives to Moses. God gives these gorgeous stone tablets with the first 10 mitzvot on there, right? The do's and don'ts, the important ones. And Moses comes down the mountain and sees that the people grew a little impatient. While he was up there for 40 days and 40 nights, they decided to have a party. They decided to build a golden calf statue that they were going to pray to. And Moses is so furious. What does he do? Exactly. He chucks these tablets to the ground, and they shatter. He gets angry. He has some choice words with the people. God has some choice words with Moses. And Moses goes back up to the top of the mountain. And he says, hey, God, those are some nice tablets. I kind of broke them. I'd love another pair, please. And what does God say? And then what does God say? You'll have to make them yourself. You'll have to write them yourself. Go for it. I gave you the blueprints. You know what they are. Yeah. So this week is Parshat Noach, right? And in preparing for tonight, I noticed that this technique is actually offered earlier than just this Mount Sinai moment. In the beginning, God creates the world, right? And God gives to the people, gives to Adam and Eve the garden. It's just there. And God says, look, I've given you this garden and everything in it, and you are going to protect it. You are going to work the land. You are going to protect the land, right? And a little bit later, God has some choice words with the people, and God is unhappy with how they have been treating one another, so God starts over. God floods the whole world and chooses Noah to kind of reset everything. And the first thing Noah does when the waters recede and gets off of the ark is what? Well, the first thing he does. That's like the third thing. The first thing he does is what? What's that? He plants a vineyard. He plants a vineyard. He is described as a man of the earth. Ish Adamah, right? A man of the earth, right? Humans were given the garden before, and now we have to do it ourselves. We have to plant it ourselves. We have to nurture it. We have to grow it ourselves. It's this sense of ownership, the sense of connection to the land that was missing before. Maybe that's what's caused us to act out of turn, right? Now, Noah then acts out of turn, but we have this new connection, this new appreciation for the land. all of a sudden, right? In A Call to Arms, a book written by our very own Jennifer Grayson. Call to Farms, excuse me. Call to Farms. Jennifer Grayson, she asks us to reconsider our relationship to the land. And she suggests that we tend to it more often than we attempt to tame it through tried and true practices that we have long forgotten, that we've tried to control too often, that there's a connection that we're missing. Right? The very first thing that we were assigned in the Garden of Eden was to be stewards, to protect, to guard the land. Right? We have gone away from that. Right? We are supposed to be guardians of the earth, guardians of the animals, guardians of each other. Right? And over time, this sense of responsibility, these roles of guardianship, of stewardship, become our mitzvot. Right? We have bal tashchit, do not waste unnecessarily. Tsar ba'alei chaim, to treat animals well, right? To not harm them. Shmirat haguf, to take care of our bodies, right? These foundational teachings from the beginning. And this is ultimately what creates our sense of connection to God, connection to our food, connection to our land, within a system called kashrut, of keeping kosher, right? Understanding what is fit for how we live, right? This year, our temple, you may know, you may not know, I'm going to tell you now, our temple has committed to reconnecting. We have committed to a bunch of initiatives, right, of composting, of recycling, and actually putting recycling into the recycling bins and making sure they go to the proper place. We have started to engage in this vegan synagogue challenge, where we are once a month hosting events, experiences that we will feed you vegan food, right? Tonight, our oneg will be these beautiful jalapeno cheddar biscuits with butter and jam with horchata on the side. It's all vegan, right? There is almond milk in the horchata, just in case of allergies, and the biscuits and the butter made from coconuts, so just in case allergies there, right? But everything we do is connected, right? That's the teaching of Noach. That's the teaching of this beginning again, this hitting reset. Right? The way that we eat is connected to how we take care of the land, and we are committed to expressing love through our choices. Love for our bodies, love for the earth, and in turn, we receive love. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Amen.
Continue with Shema and Ve'ahavta on page 38.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinanta al levanecha ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם עוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. אל תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Micha Mocha, page 39. Turn to page 44 as we rise for our own private Amidah within community, as we move through either the pages of our prayer book or the words of our hearts. We do so silently. You may be seated when you are ready.
we rise, we rise, we rise, rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to guide us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise, all of the children rise, elders with wisdom rise, ancestors surround us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise up from the wreckage, rise with tears and with courage, rise fighting for life, we rise in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here.
We're going to be right here, and we're going to all vote this Tuesday, and we're going to rise, and we're going to share our voices, and we're going to breathe deeply and make it through the week. And now we're going to take another breath and breathe deeply on page 239 as we send our prayers to those in need of healing. Misha Berach. Some of the names of people who are in need of healing are in your sheets here. And so we're sending our love and our strength, those who are suffering physically, emotionally, psychologically, religiously. One of those people might be you, someone you love, someone in your family, in your community, or in our family and community. Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor Habrecha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
So I already mentioned voting. That's what's going on next week. Make sure to do it. Another thing is that the next 3 Friday nights are really going to be very special Friday nights. Next Friday, the 8th, Marty Kaplan, who's usually one of the smartest people in the room, is going to be in dialogue with Mari Chernow during services. It'll sort of be a detox after the election. We might or might not know who the next president is by next Friday, but we're going to be holding each other and holding space together. That's next Friday. The Friday after that, the 15th, will be a more formal TIOH Speaks, where we're going to have 3 to 4 panelists, where I'm going to elicit after services all of the issues that are on your mind and heart. We're going to write them all down, and then we're going to actually have a discussion about some of those issues that come up. We've also invited some really wonderful people, lawyers who have argued in front of the Supreme Court, lawyers who are involved in social justice work. They're all members of our community who are very involved in all different ways. So that'll be 2 Fridays from now, and hopefully we'll know who the next president will be by the 15th. And then the Friday after that, which is the 22nd, is going to be our second prayer lab of the year, and that's when we do more experimental type of Shabbat davening. So bring your open hearts and your open minds for that. November 10th is the Hanukkah Bazaar, so you can bring your wallets for that. How's that? Okay. So a couple of things about what is going on. We went from paradise, which was last week's portion, right, into this week's portion of chaos, which is Noah. And honestly, we also really started last week with chaos, right? Because the whole world begins with tohu vavohu, it says in Genesis 1, that the world was chaos. And then actually, what's interesting, I learned this for the first time in studying it last week, is that Adam and Eve only spent 1 day in the Garden of Eden. The rabbis teach that on the 8th day, that's when they were kicked out. Interesting, right? We always think, the Eden, paradise, how wonderful. But according to Bereshit Rabbah, they were only there for 1 day, and then they were ousted. And now we have this generation where Noah was righteous within his generation, but you know how that goes. You're only as righteous as the people around you, or maybe a little better. So the rabbis teach that actually he wasn't such a great guy, he was just better than everyone else, right? And then there's this really interesting line that I never noticed until I studied it this week. And what happened, the context is that God says to Noah, listen, I'm going to destroy the whole world. I'm going to flood the whole world, and all flesh is going to be killed because there is Hamas in the world. I couldn't make this word up. Hamas is lawlessness. Isn't that crazy? Crazy. Couldn't have made that up. That's a whole other sermon, not going to give that one. Okay. And so then God says, and this is the part that I thought was really interesting, chapter 6, verse 14, Asalacha teva, make for yourself a teva, an ark of gopher wood, atzei gopher, kinim, kinim, yeah, that's the word. Make for yourself an ark of gopher wood and put in it kinim. Now that's weird. What is the word kinim? So it's translated as compartments. And you know, they probably had rooms in the ark, right? But the real word that you should be using, God you should be using, is chederim, right? That means rooms. But that's not the word that's used here. Why kinim? Okay? What are you thinking? Yes. Okay. So it's in Leviticus. I'm going to remind you, Leviticus 14, and it's kan, and it's a nest, okay? And in Leviticus 14, what happens is when you become a Metzora, when you have leprosy, you're supposed to, go out of the camp so nobody else will get leprosy. And then finally, when you get cured of your leprosy, the Kohen then goes and finds a kan, a nest with 2 birds, and one bird is killed, and the other bird is dipped in the blood of the killed bird, and then the blood is splattered on the person that used to have Mitsora, leprosy, and that's part of their way of getting cured. Okay? We don't really do that nowadays, in case you were wondering. Okay, but the point is that according to Breshit Rabbah, which is Midrash on the book of Genesis, that Khan is a form of Kippur, is a form of atonement, right? And so what Rabbi Yisrael Hopstein of the 1700s teaches is that the reason why they're called kinim, or compartments in the ark, is because they were places of getting purified, of being renewed. And that's why they were called kinim. They were called compartments because it reminds us of the purification of the nest of the Khan back in Leviticus. Did you get everything I just taught you?
Leviticus didn't happen yet.
I know, but there's an excellent question. Excellent. There's this concept in Rabbinic Judaism, ein mukdam u'muchar, which means there's no later and there's no earlier, right? All the rabbis are nodding. Am I right? Okay. In other words, it doesn't matter that Leviticus comes after Genesis. It's all one big soup.
Tohu vavohu.
Okay, fine. It's tohu vavohu. Okay, so now here's what I think it applies to us today. These kinim, these compartments that Noah and his wife and kids and animals all went into, they didn't go into these kinim to hide. They went into these kinim for renewal. Because one day they were going to have to get out of those kinim and they were going to have to face a new world. Right? So they weren't places of hiding. They were places of renewal and refreshing and refocusing on what's important. They weren't a cheder. They weren't a room where you close the door and you disappear. That, I think, is what Rabbi Yisrael Hopstein was teaching. And what does that have to do with today? Yes, the elections are coming up. Yes, it's easy for us to hide in our rooms and just like pray that everything's going to turn out well, but we can't do that. And yes, it's beyond America right now. There is a war in Israel, there's a war in Gaza, there's a war in Ukraine, there's really difficult things going on. And we might want to just disappear and go under our covers, like maybe Noah wanted to do. But we can't do that now. It's going to be a marathon, not a short little stint. And also, I want to remind us that we don't live in isolation. And if we think we can just close our doors and just take care of ourselves, I don't think that that's what Noah was doing, because once he got out, he had to face the world. And he also had to notice the rainbow. And if he was just closed in, he wouldn't be able to notice the rainbow. So I want to tell you about someone who I went out with this week. She grew up at our synagogue. She's in her late 30s. And she said that it's been really, really difficult for her to be part of the Jewish community this year because of what's going on in terms of Israel and the war and the Palestinians and Gazans. And she expressed to me how frustrating it is that people act like we're just, not all people, but lots of Jews act like we're just in our own room. Oh, it's horrible that all of these Jews are getting killed in Israel. It's horrible that they got raped in Israel. It's horrible. And all of those things are true. All of those things are true. And also, lots of Palestinians are getting killed. Lots of Gazans are getting killed. Now Lebanese are getting killed, right? And she said to me, Michelle, why can't both be true, right? Why can't it be like Noah? She didn't say like Noah, but I'm saying like Noah, right? Why can't it be like Noah, where we're grateful that we're alive, and also we see that the whole world is like falling apart right now? Why can't we hold both truths? That, I think, is the real struggle not just this week going into the elections, but it's the real struggle of being an American Jew today. And I mentioned on second day Rosh Hashanah, why can't we be in dialogue and welcome the voices of mainly young Jews in our midst who are becoming anti-Zionists, who are saying, I don't want this as Israel, this doesn't represent my people. We need to hear those voices. We need to hear them, and we need to hear our Israeli friends and cousins and neighbors who are saying, but my kids were just murdered. We need to hold both, because our is, as the Jews say, our blood isn't more red than somebody else's blood, right? And so this is the struggle that we're in right now. Not to be in a cheder, in a closed room, but to be in a kinim, to be in compartments that can look out into the larger world. And God willing, when the rainbow does come out, to be able to see that rainbow. And it's not going to take away, just because we're recognizing that there are many other people being killed, that doesn't take away my pain that my own Jews, my own brothers and sisters are also being killed. One doesn't negate the other. I hold both. And I hope that the rainbow can teach us that too, that there are all different colors in there. But if we close our doors, we're not going to be able to see the rainbow. And God willing, will that help us through next week? Because I don't know who's going to be president. And I don't know how that's going to affect not only our nation, but the whole world. But we're going to have to hold whatever people vote for. We're going to have to hold that. So we're going to rise, and we're going to hold each other, and we're going to stand together. Even in our differences, we're going to stand together. We continue with Aleinu, page 282.
לתת גדולה יוצא בראשית שלא עשינו כגוהי הארצות ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו כהמונם אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא הקדוש ברוך
Be seated. This week we're remembering the yahrzeits of Sally Braverman, Darrell Kaur, Dave Evans, Anna Fatman, Robert Fetter, Robert Fattorini, Lillian Hoff, Phyllis Kaminer, Ann Kirk, Toby Lazen, Nina Liebman, Murray Marcus, Claude Marotti, Ann Newman, Helen Rosenthal, John Sobel, Pearl Stern, Harry Tourette, and Karen Weiner. And just during these 30 days of Shloshim, we are still remembering Michelle Rockland, Stuart Super, Benjamin Ellis, Virgin Alhaitz, Sarah Gutman, Gershom Sprout, and George Heddes. If you are in Shloshim or the first year of mourning or observing a yahrzeit, we ask you to rise first. And if I did not mention someone who you are saying Kaddish for, please mention their names. The mourners need our help in witnessing their sadness and their grief. We're on page 292. They're going to lead us in Kaddish. 292, and we're going to say Amen, holding their grief and their journey. Mourners, Yitgadal v'yit. Amen. B'chayachon v'yom echon v'chaye tekol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman karivim. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Al Mei Al Maya Yitbarach
V'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalel v'yitalal Shemei L'Kudashah
Berechu.
Le'ela Mikol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiran V'alma V'imru
Amen.
Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'yakol Yisrael V'imru
Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Huya Aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'imru. Amen.
Oseh Shalom Bimromav Huya Aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel Ve'imru
Eliana, if you want to come up and help lead us in Kiddush and Motzi, we're on page 294. And also, if you're relatively new to the community and I don't know you, please come up and introduce yourselves so we know who you are, or at least I know who you are. Okay, 294. Good, you can use that.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav ve'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho ve'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu Zikaron lema'aseh bereshit Ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'e kodesh Zecher letziat Mitzrayim Ki banu bacharta Be'otanu kidashta Mikol ha'amim B'Shabbat kodshecha Be'ahava uvratzon Hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat L'chaim.
I can't promise that the challah is vegan. In fact, I don't think it is. So don't tell Rabbi Calvin. Uncover it.
Baruch atah
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon.
And we're going to rise again.
Oh, we don't have percussion now. We rise.
rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. We rise, all of the children rise, elders with wisdom rise, ancestors surround us rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.